Okay, second division game of the season, going on the road down to Baltimore. Looking forward to the challenge, and it is a challenge. They're well coached. I'll start with their offense. Obviously, a great player at quarterback. The offense goes through him. As you can imagine, he's outstanding in the run game, in the pass game, can make plays within the offense, can make plays with outside the framework of the offense. So a huge challenge, and somebody that we've played against. And you have a lot of tape on him. You have a lot of practice reps going against him, but he's just a different challenge than you get most weeks in the NFL. Great players around him. The tight end, number 89, is outstanding, as we know. He's a really, really productive player. So the scheme presents its challenges, and they're surrounded by good players and a bunch of new players. There are some new things that they're doing from a personnel standpoint, but they're doing a nice job. Defensively, first-year coordinator, but Mike McDonald has been there, so some similarities to what they've done, but you do see his imprint on their defense so far. Obviously a small sample size, but they're doing a nice job. They still have some big physical football players up front. They're healthy at corner right now. Previous to last year, they're healthy at quarter with 44 and 24 manning the outside, and some really good young talent in the back end, linebackers that can run. So challenge schematically, good defense. And then special teams, they're well coached. They've got a great returner, and some just good football players across the board in their coverage phases. So everybody has their work cut out for them this week when you're facing this team. But excited for the challenge of a division game on the road. With that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, outside of potentially Deion Jones, have you discussed any other personnel changes on defense?
No. I mean, Deion, we're hoping that he gets up to speed this week. Other things would be just seeing who's available, that type of thing.
Wyatt didn't sound very optimistic about Sunday. Are you ruling him out?
Yeah, I mean, it's doubtful, I would tell you. I don't like ruling guys out on Wednesdays, so we'll see how treatment goes and those type of things, but he'll continue to rehab and try to make it back.
With Miles, he said after the game he was confident that he'd be able to play Sunday. He's not practicing today, but do you still feel like he's on track to play?
I do.
Is Kellen Mond Lamar this week, and is he the scout team QB every week?
It's a little bit of everybody week to week. Josh Dobbs takes a lot of those reps to get himself ready and stay sharp. So you'll get a little bit of all those guys. You may take some other players, put them back there on certain plays just to really work that speed element of it. So there's a bunch of guys that will try to fill that role.
Have you had to use a receiver in the past?
We have.
And Jacoby Brits said, well, first off, here's the first question. We know that Jacoby talked to the team after the game Sunday. And of course, I don't expect you to tell me what he said. Were you in there when he talked, or was that after?
No, we were all there.
Okay. Do you think those kinds of messages work? Do they carry over, or how do you look at those?
Yeah, I would just tell you, Jeff, whenever a player speaks up, players listen. This is a peer-led thing. Jacoby's seen a lot in his career. I know he's a young man still, but he's seen a lot. So I think it's important when he does speak up. I think the guys do listen. But at the end of the day, it is a matter of doing. We do need to just follow through on all the things that we're talking about.
Kevin, on the subject of players stepping up and leadership and things like that, JJ3 said today that he doesn't feel like everyone is on the task at hand when they're outside of this building. And you can't teach self-motivation, but do you agree with that? And how do you get the team to invest that extra time away from the facility?
Yeah, I've talked to John, and I've talked to the leadership group, and talked to a lot of young players, and this is, you do want these guys to take their jobs seriously. This is a job at the end of the day, and you got to spend time with it. When you're in the building, you got to spend time away from the building. So there are young players, of course, that you're trying to teach them how to be a pro. Until you teach them, there are some guys that don't know. So like most teams, you have young players that you're bringing along, but I think the guys do a good job of pouring everything they have into these weeks. And we fill up their day, and we fill it up with whether it's meetings and walkthroughs and practice and lifting and rehab and those type of things. But there's also an element of this job that you do stay committed to it outside of this building.
How's Lamar gotten better as a passer?
Yeah, I mean, he's good. I mean, he makes plays from the pocket. He makes plays outside the pocket. He spreads the ball around. He doesn't target one area of the field. He doesn't target one player. I think he spreads the ball around. I think he's accurate. The ball comes out on time. He's just dangerous because, like I mentioned earlier, within the framework of the offense, it's a well-schemed-up offense. And when you have the quarterback that can carry the ball and become that, the defense has to account for him in the run game, that's difficult from a run fit, and I think every team that plays him understands that. And then when that same guy can beat you from the pocket with his arm, it presents all sorts of other challenges.
The thing you said about everyone staying committed outside the building, do you think that's just limited to rookies? Do you think you have some veterans who are exhibiting that kind of commitment?
No, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, Tony. I think, my message to the team, when you're not producing how you want to produce, we all have to do our jobs, and then we all just have to do more. I think it's do your job a little bit better, but let's do more. What more can we do?
Phillips was talking about that earlier, and he said that, like, preparation for the next day's practice, is that something that's needed? Like if you go home and you, like, part of that preparation, is that something that's...
I think it's probably a little bit different for each position group, Marla, and I think having vets in each room to show the guys the way, and I think is really important. I think as coaches, we play a factor in that and giving guys projects homework to do, so to speak. So it's just, I think so often in my career, just watching young players as they come to this league, they're really raised by their room in a lot of ways. And when you have a room with some veterans that can show them the way, I think that's ideal.
The homework. And you said earlier in the year that sometimes you have the guys like write down on a piece of paper what they want to get better, bring it in the next day. Is that something that continues throughout the year? Is that just really an emphasis in camp, and then you just hope they do it on their own?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a big emphasis in the off season in terms of skill development and that type of thing. I do know that as the season goes on, some of the most important work you do at practices during that individual period, where you're just refining those skills. So I don't think any of the players or the coaches assume that guys are as good as they're going to be technique-wise when the season starts. I do think that there's an ability to get better there.
Yelda, the guy at right guard, if Wyatt can't go.
He's an option. Yeah, there's a bunch of different guys that have played in there. Yelda was a guy, obviously, that finished out the game and last week, but we'll kind of see where we go this week.
If Wyatt doesn't play, it's the thing you miss most when he's not out there is just the physicality he brings to the run game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. He's good in the run game, good in the pass game, has played a lot of good reps for us, played a lot for us over the last few years.
The Ravens and their takeaways, they've got 8 interceptions, which I think is third or tied for third in the
Yep.
NFL, 4 forced fumbles or something like that. Defensively, they might not be the best pass defense statistically right now, but what about the fact that they're taking it away?
Yeah, I think they're doing a really nice job, Mary Kay, and they're doing things a little bit different than they've done maybe in years past, just some of the percentages of certain coverages they're playing and those type of things. But at the end of the day, they have the players to play it all. They can play man, they can play zone, they can play all different versions of zone. And I think they're doing a nice job when they're visual on the quarterback. They're breaking on the ball, they're tipping the ball in the air, coming down with interceptions. So a bunch of versatile players in the back end.
You talk about options at right guard there. What's going on with Chris Hubbard? Is he healthy?
He's healthy. He's really playing more tackle for us right now.
But he has played guard.
He has, yeah. But in this instance, I still think he's a tackle for us.
They've had its problems the last 3 games, and yet 2 of their best games last year were against the Ravens. How much do you look at that, and how much do you show that to the players?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you watch a lot of that, Tony, and so do they. They look at the tape to see how we tried to defend them, so they're going to have their adjustments off of that. We look at it, see what worked, what didn't work. Just getting back to earlier, it's a unique challenge playing the Ravens. They do things different than most offenses that you're going to see on a week-to-week basis. So it is very specific to that week. and then it's just kind of incumbent upon us to have a plan that our guys can go play and play fast.
What do you need to see out of Jadavian this week for him to be able to play Sunday?
Yeah, he's coming along. You know, he's rehabbing very hard. He wants to get out there. I think you got to just see him practice and make sure that physically he can go be himself.
When you look at a pairing like Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, you know, you go into that game knowing those two guys are going to connect and find each other, and you're spending hours trying to stop that connection. How are they still able to kind of overcome that week in and week out?
Yeah, I think every team goes in trying to shut them down, and I think realistically that's really difficult to do. You want to slow them down, obviously. At the end of the day, you want to score more points than their offense. But you go into every time you're playing this offense and you have your rules and you need to tackle well and you need to do all those little things. And you also need to realize they have a really good player at quarterback. He's a great player at tight end. They're going to make their plays. Can you limit those? Can you limit the big ones and tackle and get them on the ground? Can you force them into some negative plays? But to say that you're just going to go and shut them out, nobody's done that.
What have you seen out of the Ravens' run defense, especially against Saquon last week? And schematically, are they similar at all to what the Patriots did to you guys?
Some similarities, yeah, definitely some similarities. Just with 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, they're physical, they're big, obviously powerful. Matabuke, Calais Campbell in there, good players on the edges, but they're going to They play multiple fronts. They play multiple coverages. We'll see what their plan is for us and vice versa. But it's a stout front.
Lamar's had 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter this year, I think. Last year, you guys obviously picked him off 4 times. Do you see that do you go to the game expecting there may be opportunities to get the football from him, create turnovers, that sort of thing?
Well, I think you try every game. I mean, you're trying to take it away. I don't think you want to go into a game just trying to let them give it to you. That just doesn't happen. I think mentality-wise for the defenses, they have to go take it away, whether it's a strip, on a sack, a strip on a tackle, a punching of it out, tipping a ball, breaking on a ball, those type of things. I think you have to have that mentality that you're going to go take it away.
I know you don't want to say what Jacoby said, but can you say anything about just the emotion or the moment how did it feel like a important moment or anything?
Again, I have a ton of respect for Jacoby, as does the entire team. So when one of the leaders in the football team speaks up in any setting, the guys listen. It's an important part of leadership. When those guys feel like they want to share, they share.
Ways it's been something like last year it was slow going until you got to that Ravens game, I think. I know guys have talked about them being contagious. I know you guys drill takeaways so much. Like, is there anything more that can happen to create those or manufacture them, or just
we're trying? We're trying. Every team's trying to get the ball. It's such a huge part of this game. Getting more opportunities for your scoring on defense, getting opportunities for your offense, setting an offense up for a score. I mean, it's a formula for winning across the NFL, obviously, and you can win games where you don't take it away. It becomes more difficult, and then it's very important for the offense to take care of the ball. But in terms of, no, you can't speak it into existence. So what can you do? You can work it at practice. You can drill it. You can emphasize it. You can watch tape. You can talk about it in the meeting room.